Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Talking Cafe Live, all the way from sunny Taunton. Today, my name's Sean Cashin. I'm a village agent with CCS. My colleague with me is my locality manager, Chrissy Brewer. And today we're going to be talking about immunisations and vaccinations. And that's going to be presented by our colleague, Emma Webber from the NHS in Somerset. And feel free to interact with questions as we go along, and we can hopefully address those as we go. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy. And Emma, if I could pass over to you, please, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Chrissy. Can you hear me, everybody? Thumbs up. Yep, that's fine. Perfect. I'm not sure how long you'd like me to talk for, but what I thought I would do is just give you an overview of where we are in our county with the dear old COVID and flu vaccination programme, how it's being delivered and what we're trying to achieve as we go headlong into the winter months. I'm not sure where Sean is today. Say sunny Taunton is not sunny. It's still foggy where I am in Taunton. It's a bit grim. And then I thought if anybody wants to ask questions, then please do fire away. I have got some stats that I can share. I don't have as much on flu as I'd like at the moment. I'm waiting on some new ones to come in. But we could talk about sort of wider winter messaging as well and what our plans are if that's of interest. But I think if we start with the vaccination programme and start initially with COVID, because I can talk about that before we integrate with flu. The COVID programme in Somerset has obviously been running as long as it has been nationally, so for a good sort of 2+ years, and it's extremely successful in our county. I think we've got a higher uptake than the UK average on almost every cohort of eligible person. So it's been successful and it continues to remain successful. We are currently running the autumn booster campaign, which is eligible people who are, you've probably heard this all over the news, but I'll reiterate just in case. You're eligible for your autumn booster if you're 50+, if you're clinically vulnerable, if you're pregnant, if you're a paid or an unpaid carer, or a family member of somebody who's clinically vulnerable, and if you work in the health and social care industry sector. So you can get your free COVID jab at the moment for autumn booster. You are also, we call it our evergreen offer. If you haven't had, or people haven't had their COVID vaccination, they can have their ongoing one at any of our clinics that are open, and we're still running that. So that's first or second or initial boosters. So it's been successful. We are at the moment, hot off the press this week, for autumn boosters. We have delivered of all the eligible cohort, that's just over 370,000. We've delivered to 75.8% of that population. NHS England have targeted us with about 80%, so we're not running short. The autumn booster is going to carry on beyond the Christmas and New Year period, which I'm pleased about. So we will continue on with all the communications. What we are seeing is a real slowdown in uptake over the past 2 weeks. So anything that can be done to encourage people to come forward and boost themselves for winter is gratefully received by us. We are delivering through a combination of some GP practices, our vaccination centres in Verrington and Tower, which is the old bus station in Taunton, community hospitals and community pharmacies. I think I totaled it the other day. There's well over 50 venues across Somerset where you can get your COVID vaccination, and in some of them you can also get your flu vaccination, but not all. It's slightly confusing in Somerset. Some other systems are able to do COVID and flu at the same time, which is convenient. Some of ours, we haven't been able to. But what I reiterate is that we are seeing a bit of a decline over the past couple of weeks, and we do want to get those numbers up. What we are anticipating, as has been widely reported, is a big upsurge in respiratory viruses this winter, COVID and particularly flu. So I can go on and talk a little bit about flu now. A lot of the population are also eligible for a free flu vaccination. It largely runs in line with the COVID cohorts, not always. What I was going to do is try and pop into the chat some links, if that's useful, for where you can find more information out about how to book your free flu vaccination, how to book your COVID vaccination, or how to find a walk-in clinic. I should have said that we are running quite a wide number of walk-in clinics for COVID through the Grab a Jab scheme at the moment. Flu is also being offered to very young children through GP surgeries, 2 to 3 year olds. That's the nasal spray, and to primary school age children, again through the nasal spray, but that's being delivered through schools. So that's been running since September onwards. Uptake is good, but not good enough. We are seeing in the hospitals more and more cases, particularly at the moment with young children. You may see the news today. It's been reported there's lots of very young children, because they haven't experienced a flu season because of lockdowns, and many of them were born during the lockdown period. This is the first time we've had a full flu season in the UK, and we widely follow, or largely follow, the Australian model, and they had a pretty hard and heavy flu period during their winter this year. So there's an enormous amount of encouragement to get flu vaccinations, particularly everybody that's eligible for free. If you're not eligible for free, you can get them from as little as about £11, and they're widely available through pharmacies across Somerset. So that's really where I am. I don't have the stats to give you on the flu uptake. It started later than the autumn booster one. It's better in the older generation, so the 65 plus has been very positive. Where we are seeing a slower uptake in both COVID and flu is the 50 to 64-year-old cohort. I think there's a little bit of, not so much vaccine hesitancy now, but maybe a little bit of fatigue. Some people have had COVID over the summer, or family members have had COVID, and it's not been terribly serious and haven't felt very ill with it. So there's an element of maybe thinking, oh, maybe I won't get it done, or I'll get it done a little bit later. But what we're encouraging is to really get it done now, because COVID and flu together, and they can be caught together, could be potentially extremely serious. So I think that's probably most things from me. If there's any questions at all, I think I can see that in the comments there have been some of the links to the Grab a Jab side. I don't know how I can add a comment into here, but we do have links I could add in for how you can book your COVID jab if you wanted to have an appointment, or if you wanted to book flu. Or if not, I can send that across to you separately, Chrissy.
Yeah, if you type whatever you want in the comments, and then it will we can add that on, and then we can also make sure that it goes out when it gets shared as well. Yeah.
Well,
can I ask a question?
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
You talk about children and the nasal spray for the flu. What age is that from?
2 to 3. For 2 to 3 year olds, they can have theirs at the GP surgery, and appointments can be booked. Right. For primary school age children, then it's going to be delivered through the schools programme.
Right.
And it's a little bit of a woolly, and there may be some offered to slightly older children, but that's not confirmed. I think it's about the volume of vaccinations that left over once the initial tranche has been delivered. Okay. But of course, children you can also book well.
I think Emma might have frozen there.
I think Emma's frozen for a minute there.
Oh, you're back on, Emma. You froze for a while.
Oh, I can see myself moving.
Yeah,
I cannot see my comment. Sorry. Is it bad connection?
No.
It sounds like the connection, possibly. We can see you, but occasionally you're dropping out. But that's probably just your internet or Wi-Fi.
No, I've just. What age then do the older, I want to say children, but they won't want to be classed as children, actually move from having like the nasal spray to having actually having a jab? And how does that happen?
I believe that is when they become an adult. I think it's nasal spray right up until the end of the school years. But what I could do is, I'm really sorry, I can't work out how to add. I'm in the comments box. I'm trying to put in, I've got a great link about finding out about children's flu vaccinations, but I can't see an obvious box to add it into. I don't know if I'm not permitted to make a comment.
Right, you should.
I think if you was
I'll
permitted,
put it in the
there's
private chat.
Yeah, put it in the private chat, and then we can
And
share
then
it
you can
from there.
ping it
That's
across.
absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
just doing
Absolutely
that
fine. Yeah.
One of the things I was observation really, Emma, is that obviously there's the uptake of the COVID vaccination has slowed down.
Yeah.
I think, judging by what I see, the flu vaccinations carries on at pace, and my local supermarket, no names will be mentioned, offer them. They drop leaflets and they're quite upfront about the free jabs and what have you. And I just wondered, somehow maybe on receipts, if it's not for yourself but as a marketing campaign, when you get your receipt or you do your shopping, you've got a voucher on the bottom for a free jab if you meet the criteria, that sort of thing. I think people are just missing it sometimes when it's out there. It's probably more of a, and I think with the COVID vaccination, people are concerned probably that, oh, it's gone away. We don't have to worry. We've had 3 jabs and a booster already. And I suppose that's the challenge for the NHS, is to get that message out there more than now is necessary, just as it was 2 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Like I alluded to, I think that there is, and understandably so to some extent, there is an apathy about having another vaccination, because you have your flu vaccination once a year. We've been rolling out COVID vaccinations, a number in a year. Some people have had 5 or 6 of them, depending on their clinical status. So I do understand that. And I think because it feels like the weather's only just started to change very recently, and I hope that there will be an uptake now in maybe with respiratory illnesses becoming more prevalent. The clocks have changed, the weather's a bit rubbish, we're leading up to Christmas. I'm hoping there'll be a little bit more appetite. So there are national campaigns, regional campaigns and local campaigns to raise awareness. So we're doing our very best, but if anywhere that we can spread the news and that we can encourage people to come forward is gratefully received.
Okay, we've got a couple of comments actually have come in, and one of them is very relevant, particularly for the elderly, and that is for people who cannot get out of their home. Is there an option to have it in their home?
Yes, there is a housebound service that we've been delivering since September. So people that are housebound should have been contacted already. Right. I believe that's an ongoing process, because obviously people become housebound and maybe weren't housebound. So we have our own. It's run through Somerset Foundation Trust, which is part of the COVID programme. We have a specialist team that goes out.
Okay, so and they wouldn't contact their GP for that. You wait to be.
No. It's run through Somerset Foundation Trust. So I'm happy if there's a particular query. I think you've got my email. I'm happy to have my query my email put, and I can forward on to the relevant email address. There is a generic COVID vaccinations email for the roving, call them the roving team that deliver the housebound. So I'll happily pass that on.
Okay, but if somebody, as you say, somebody may have been housebound before, may not have been housebound before, but now they are housebound. So how will that team find out that they have become housebound? We are working with a GP surgery, so we are made aware when there are people who have got whose situation changes. But that doesn't, I suppose it doesn't mean that everybody always gets picked up, because there are thousands and thousands of people potentially across the county whose situation change over maybe a season. So if I would encourage, if there's any concern, the most important thing is that people get their vaccinations, people that need them get their vaccinations. And if people do have mobility issues or who are housebound, then we do have a roving team. So I'd be very happy to share that information with the roving team so they can contact that individual. But the best thing really is for that individual or the family to make sure the GP knows that they have become housebound. So really, it's a way to get them known.
It's a change in their medical status if they do become a housebound person, and that I guess gets registered on the system. So we do liaise with all of the surgeries, obviously, to ensure we've got the relevant data.
Okay. Can somebody have their flu vaccination and their COVID vaccination at the same time?
Yes. You might have 2 dead arms.
Yes.
But you can, yes, very much so. The initial advice was have them at the same time or try and have them a week apart. That was changed very, very quickly because it was apparent that you can have them just a couple of days apart if it's not convenient. Like I said, there are the occasional clinics where you may be offered the COVID vaccination if you've gone in for your flu jab and vice versa. A little frustratingly in Somerset, we don't have many of those, so you might need to book them separately. But yes, it is completely safe to do it. But I do warn you, you'll have them in separate arms. So you may have 2 dead arms rather than just the one for a couple of days.
Yeah, no, I had mine separately just because of that reason.
Yeah, me too, actually. Me too.
Just in case, so I could actually do some writing if I needed to. And people, obviously the elderly, will then start asking what is happening in the spring in terms of COVID vaccinations. So
Yeah.
I take it that there's plans to say March, April time to do another.
Yeah, so we've done our seasonal vaccinations this year. We had our spring booster, which was around the April time, and then we began autumn booster in September. It's not officially confirmed, but I think very much the thought is that there will be another booster program rolled out in the spring.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Don't hold me to that, but that because I'm not JCVI, but I believe that's what the planning is for at the moment.
Okay. Sean, do you have any questions?
No, I think you've covered most of that. Like you say, it's very important that we, as people living in Somerset, spread the word and the message that it's a positive thing. Because I think there is still the apathy, like you've said, and slight mistrust on occasions with more the COVID jab than the flu jab. And I think we, as a village agent, I'm out and about talking to people, spreading the message, if you like, when we get requests. But yeah, I think all of us need to probably do that now, because it's a few years on from it, but we don't want it to take a foothold again, do we? So
no, and I think it's about protecting the wider services across the system, and that's not just the hospitals, that's adult social care as well. And we're doing quite a lot of work at the moment to because part of my job as well is informing from a winter communications perspective on behalf of NHS Somerset. So it's not just immunisations, vaccinations for winter are a huge part of that, but it's that wider, broader message across our system, as we would call it, and all of the providers that we have. It's helping people to help themselves, but the NHS is there, and the NHS is very much there at the right point of access. So whether you need to see your pharmacist, your GP, whether you need to phone 111 or go directly to A&E or call 999, I think that's what we're trying to inform, rather than saying don't go to a doctor, don't go because they're busy. Yes, they're very busy, but if you access at the right point when you become ill, it's going to save it getting much worse and putting more pressure on the system, and obviously making yourself more ill in the process. So yeah, so particularly with vaccinations, they're the best form of defense that we've got. It's not just about protecting ourselves, it's our wider community and our loved ones. And is it tomorrow? It's the 1st of December, I think, isn't it? So we're headlong into, I can't believe it's December already. So we're headlong into the festive season already. It seems to have crept up, but this is a time where, particularly this year, there are no restrictions really in place. So many more people will be coming together as families and as friends and as work colleagues, and therefore the risk of spreading viruses, even if you're not showing symptoms of either, is much greater. So that's the message really, is to protect yourself and others. And there's a huge number of outlets. You can walk in for your vaccination, or you can book your vaccinations. And the average appointment time is about 15 minutes from beginning to end. So it's really not time consuming. And there's plenty of availability. It wasn't at the beginning. It was a great uptake for September and October. But as the initial surge reduces, there's lots of space now.
I've got one very quick question, and it's just sort of like occurred to me, because obviously, especially the elderly, they it's so important they get vaccinated, but some of them also will need their shingles vaccination, their pneumonia immunization. Is all of that side done through the GP? So because it's a lot of different appointments for the elderly particularly to be having to go to.
Yeah, I can't advise on anything other than the two jabs I've got a bit of authority on. I don't know. I believe it's all GP led for that kind of delivery, whereas flu and COVID can be done, some GP surgeries obviously, but it can be done externally. I do understand that it can be And it can be confusing, and sometimes it is difficult to get through to practices as well. So yes, I'm aware of that. The other message actually we are saying, I should have said, is we've tried to say reach out message. So if you're aware of a neighbour or a family member who is a bit more vulnerable and might need some help, then reach out to help them book or get to their appointments. So it's just awareness. I think we can all be very busy in our own lives, myself included, and there might be somebody next door, somebody across the road, or somebody that you pass by and you say hello to in the street who might actually just need a bit of support. So particularly those sort of people who find it hard, who aren't maybe digitally savvy, don't want to go online to book appointments, maybe you can help them do it, or pass that message on that they can be helped.
And sorry, I've just thought of another group of people, because obviously we're concentrating here on the elderly, you know, a lot of talk about the elderly, but what about those people that are on the street, they're homeless, they're in hostels, and how are they being picked up?
Yeah, there's a specialist homeless street team that are already well engaged with that community and have been throughout the pandemic. So that's how they're having theirs delivered. That's not through me, actually. I don't do much of the comms for that, but I do know that it's well established. It comes up. We do have meetings across the system to make sure that people who are more vulnerable, people who are maybe in lower uptake areas, people like, including the homeless community, for example, are I was going to say the word targeted. That's not a great word, but who we're encouraging, we're engaging with to make sure that they are not left behind. So there's lots of proactive work happens about that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma.
I think for me as a village agent as well, and just thinking now, as you were talking, we're getting referrals to go and see someone who wants to discuss maybe a benefit situation, or they might want to talk about some mobility issue or whatever. I think for us, we can add an extra question into that initial phone call or visit to say, oh, just a reminder, have you been for your jabs yet? You know, we can signpost you to your jabs. It's only an extra question on the day, and if we can get the uptake to be increased, that all the better.
Yeah, thank you. That would be wonderful if you could do that. Just that extra question, just to check that they've had them, and if not, if they haven't had them, do they need a bit of help in how to arrange them or get them? That would be great.
Brilliant. Well, Chrissy, I'm all out of questions. I don't know about you. You're on mute, I think.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So Emma, fantastic. Yes. If there's nothing more from you, we'll thank you very much for your time today.
No, thank you.
There's Emma's email on the screen, guys, if you need to make contact. As I say, if you need to go onto the NHS website to look at vaccinations, just Google type NHS, or there are other search engines available, of course. And contact your GP or your local pharmacy. And a lot of pharmacies these days are inside your supermarkets. So when you're doing your shopping, if you've got to walk past it, have a word and see if you can maybe book that in between the fish and the tea aisle. That'd be fantastic.
Fantastic.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks.
Lovely
Thank you, Emma.
You all.
Take care.
Thanks for everyone who's engaged online.
Yes, anytime. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, thanks for everyone for tuning in today and listening to Emma. Really useful. Hopefully it's been advantageous for you to join us today. And obviously we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Anything from you,
Thanks,
Chrissy?
Sean. No, have a good week, rest of the week.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye.